All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to No Judgment here. I am your host, Tish Ross. I'm so excited to have Josh come on. And for those of you that don't know Josh Sherman, he is from Sherman's Family Farm. If you guys haven't checked out that YouTube channel, I'm going to have one of my mods put his link in the comments so that you can. He's got an amazing channel. Some really cool stuff that he does in terms of farming and in fact, I was sent some of his freshly made honey. It's so delicious. And I take a tablespoonful of that every day if I don't add it to my shakes and all that good stuff. So I hope and encourage you guys to go and check out his channel. Tons of great videos, lots of great information about he and his family and his farming. But tonight, you guys are going to see or hear another side about Josh. My hope is with my platform is to always allow or invite guests to come on and share their stories. And when Josh was on Pretty and Pooch last Wednesday, there were a couple things that he shared that I honed in on. And my questions come from a place of wanting to hopefully have guests come on and share their testimonies or share their stories so that other people will gain hope. It definitely doesn't come from a place of nosiness. It doesn't come from a place of let me dig in more and just find out every nitty gritty detail about you and your life. It absolutely does not come from that place. My podcast is something that God led me to do, and I tossed and turned for months and months to finally find out what it was that he wanted me to do. And this is what it is. And the message is that we are all here to serve a purpose. Whether you believe in God or not, there is a purpose for you here on this earth. And I think one of the purposes is to, like I shared last week, is to tell the good news. If you've been through something and you've gotten through it, how dare we keep that bottled up? Let's share the good news so that someone, somewhere, sometime, somehow may listen to a person's testimony or story or journey or experience, whatever you want to call it, and gain some hope. And that's why I entitled tonight's show that Josh was coming on to share a message of hope. So I'm going to bring Josh in. You guys are in for a treat tonight. If you've not met Josh, he is here. Let me bring him in. All right, Josh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Well, welcome in. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you, everyone that is already commenting. I'm going to quickly go through some of those right fast because I tend to get way behind. I start sort of, well, it's not, I don't think it's a problem. I think the deal is that I am so engaged with my guests that sometimes I don't mean to neglect anyone that is on here and supporting my guests or my channel. It's just sometimes I just get so wrapped up in my guests' stories that it's just very interesting and very lovely. There are a lot of messages that have come on and been just filled with hope and good news. And I'm so glad that you're here to share yours. So I want to quickly say hello to Backroad Freedom. Justin, thanks for coming in. Let's see here. Gary with Jailbait and Tackle Outdoors. He is here. He says, tuning in to support some fine folk. And Neil with Treasure Hunter, he is here. Marianne Bimler is here. She says, hello, Tish Ross and Josh. Beth Cornett is here. She says, hey, peeps. Thank you, Backroad Freedom. He shared the link to your YouTube channel. And I know we just started, so I'm sure that there'll be other people hopping in here in just a bit. Everyone is saying hello to each other. Heather, thanks for coming in. We're glad to see you. I hope you're feeling better. Paul with PSB Odyssey, he says, howdy, Miss Pretty and No Judgment here at Tish Ross. Yeah, I've got dual personality here. And who else is in the house? LaDonna with Kickapoo Crafty Cat is here. Brian with the Vineyard Farmhouse, he is here. He says, hey there, Josh. Scout Inquirer says, greetings and love from New York. Hi, Tish and Pooch. Fabulous mods and chat. I am just popping in to say hey, and I will watch the replay later with Josh. Have an awesome live stream. Big hugs. Thank you, Scout, for popping in. I appreciate that. And moving on down a little bit more. Okay. So looks like there are others that are popping in, but I want to go ahead and get started, Josh. And again, thank you so much for coming in. It's such a blessing to have you. We're going to just go ahead and dive in because we have so much to talk about. And I know that last Wednesday when you were on with Pooch and I, we talked about your YouTube channel and a little bit about what you do and what your hopes are, and also how amazing you are and so supportive you are in terms of coming onto other people's channels and supporting them. And I'm quite certain that if you were not my guest tonight, that you would probably be right there supporting me. And I appreciate you so much for doing that. I want to just go ahead and start, Josh, and thank you first for coming in and being so transparent and sharing your story to give other people hope. And that is a message that we are hoping to share, to bring to others. We are not doctors, we're not counselors. I have to say this because we are just regular, everyday, normal people that are living our very own journeys. And sometimes those journeys come with bumps in the road. And I'm sure that every single person that's in this chat that will listen now, that will listen later, can agree that life is definitely not perfect. And we will have those bumps in the road. We will have tragic things happen to us. We will have loss. And, I don't want to sound non-sympathetic, but, unfortunately that's life. And I can say that even with Mike and I losing Ben, that while he is not here, his life was a blessing, and his death for me was a blessing as well. And the reason I say that is because I learned so much about life through Ben's passing. It's just a beautiful gift that someone can give you, a legacy, if you will. So, Josh, again, thanks for being here. I want you to tell us a little bit about your childhood, how that was, and then share a little bit about how it was that you made it out on your own at 15 years of age.
All right. So first off, we moved from Arizona to Oklahoma, and we moved with my grandma. So when I was very young, about 1 years old, uh, my grandma took custody of me. Uh, just whatever reasons for my parents. Don't really know exactly. It's I don't want to get into that part about it, but
Mm-hmm.
my grandma took us over. There was four of us at that time, and at that time, to tell you how good of a lady she was, is her husband had said, "We've already raised our kids. If you take in these kids, we're going to, uh, we're not going to stay together."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Well, I hate that, but uh, you know, I'm going to Oklahoma and I'm taking them with me." So that's when it all started. They split up, but they still talk. They didn't get a divorce. He just didn't want to raise any more kids. So we get here, and then a couple years later, my three youngest siblings come to live with us. So at this time, there's seven of us total. That my grandma, and she was handicapped and couldn't work. So she was doing the very best she could to take care of us and raise us. And then my aunt, which had also lived with us, had over time had four kids. And then she left her four kids as well with my grandma. So then
Wow.
there's a so my grandma was raising all of us at one time, and we know that's not easy. I like to think I was a good kid, but raising any kids, you're just it's hard. And then raising that many kids at one time, uh, I know it was rough on her. And so, fast forwarding it to when I was 15 years old, she tells me that I needed to find somewhere else to live. And at first, why the why is I don't know. Did she figure, okay, I can get on my own now? She feels that I don't need anybody else. Uh, money was tight for her. So could she just not afford it? I don't know. I never asked her. Uh,
Mm.
Probably for the first 2 or 3 years, I held a grudge because I would go at 15 years old. I would go months, who knows how long, without hearing from a single soul of my family. Didn't hear from nobody at all. So I held a grudge, like why do I have to do this? At 15, I gotta make it. And so
How did you? I mean, what how did you make it? Like, what did you, when you had to leave? And gosh, 15 is so young, but like you said, your grandmother had her reasons and felt like you could, or, you don't know the reasons why, but possibly she felt like it was, you could make it on your own. Maybe it was for financial reasons. Having a house load of kids, that's a lot of children, especially being handicapped, and yeah, it's a lot. But and I can understand having a grudge too, like not hearing from family and being out on your own. That would be quite difficult. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but how did you feel?
so I felt it was I was hurt. I didn't it wasn't not having anybody was like lost. I mean, you that young, and we were already homeschooled. So not knowing anybody out, it was a hard feeling. But I made it because I had one neighbor when I was young, that he realized, he quickly knew there's a lot of kids over there, maybe where we don't always have a meal, or, we don't have nothing to drink, whatever the case is being. And he would make sure at nighttime that I had something to eat. He'd say, "Hey, come over, meet me at the fence line and get you a plate of food," or he knew I like coffee, so he'd bring me a cup of coffee. And he was like just looking over me, looking after me.
Mhm.
And then when I got out on my own, uh, I went and I stayed on my great grandma's couch. I went to her house. I asked her, "Can I stay here for a little bit?" She said, "Of course." So I stayed there for it was under 2 weeks, but the exact time I don't know, but it was close to 2 weeks. And then I didn't have no cell phone at that time. Well, my stepdad, it's not my stepdad, but it's my neighbor. I consider him my stepdad.
Mhm.
Uh, but he come down and he said, "Josh," he said, "I don't know what you're thinking, but you can't just stay on this couch forever." He said, "You got to get up. You're on your own now." He said, "You don't quit laying around." And I said, "Well, I ain't got a job. I don't know what to do. I don't have a car, nothing." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what to do. Go get ready and we're going to go get a job." I said, "Okay." So he waited. I went and I got dressed, and he took me around. He goes, "Where do you want to work?" I said, "Whoever's going to hire." So, so we went, drove around. We found a place and went in, filled out an application, and I got a job. So then, after 2 weeks, 2 weeks you get a check. He goes, "Okay, now you got that check." He said, "Now we're gonna go get you a house." So he went and he talked to some friends he knew, and he said, he's on his own now. He's got to make it. He needs a house. This is the case. And the guy said, "Okay." He said, "Pay me what, this is what it's gonna be." So that's when I started on my own, and so when I'm on my own, that young, you start getting friends here and there, and you talk to people, and they would come over, and this whole time I'm still lost. I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't hear from family. I don't. My birthdays come, they don't call. Christmas rolls,
Mhm.
I don't hear from nobody, and so a part of me is like hurt, and then
Mhm.
another part is like, well, I don't need them.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do it on my own. I don't need them. Then my neighbor, uh, he would come over like on the weekends. He'd stop by for like 2 minutes. He'd pull in the driveway. He'd get out and he'd come in the house. He'd walk around, and then he'd like, "Well, I got to get it going." I'm like, "Can't you stay for a few minutes?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"I'm here alone. Wouldn't mind your company." And he'd just leave. And so then at that time, I'm thinking, "Golly, my family won't talk to me. He comes over and he don't want to be here, but 2 minutes." And I'm like, "What's going on?" And I later found out, like I just found this out like a few months ago, that he was doing that to make sure I wasn't running around the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
So so he would come
What a
in,
great man.
right. So he would come in, make sure there's no bad company in the house, no, he would check the rooms to make sure I'm doing right, and then he would leave. And so that's why I consider him my stepdad, is because he looked after me. He made sure I made it. If I lost one job or I quit one job, the next day I'm looking for another job. I didn't go a day without it. And so that's how I made it. That's how I survived.
Wow. And so, you are so, just even that one little sense of being out on your own, you are so blessed in that there was somebody, a father figure, maybe you call him your stepdad, somebody there looking out for you and, giving you a little bit of encouragement or direction, really, being there to guide you, I guess, maybe, because there are so many, and and my son has spoken on it before, that are fatherless or maybe homeless. And, my son Tristan has shared that, at 27 years of age was the first time anybody sat down with him and talked to him about what you need to do when you're going to purchase a car. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things that he's researched on his own, of course. He's not just sitting there like some egg, not knowing, like, what do I do? But it's
Right.
nice to have somebody that's physically there to give you some sort of direction. He's a blessing for sure. That he did that for you. And so you lived in that house. How long did you live in your house?
I lived. I never went back to live with anybody after that. Uh, at 15. I moved in there, and then at 18, I was probably 18 and maybe a week old. I bought my first house.
Wow.
That ended up a failure. You know, it didn't work out. But uh, that at that time, I really got taken advantage of over a finance
Mm-hmm.
company. Uh, so I moved into the house. I ended up losing that a year or so later. And then, I got the next. I just went to another house. Rented another house,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and eventually, I met my wife, and uh, we had kids, and then we got a house, and then, it brings us up to the time and day now.
And so what kind of jobs did you have when you first started out? What that first job, and what kind of jobs did you do when you were first on your own at 15?
Well, my very first job was cleaning floors. Uh, at a convenient. It was a grocery store. I would go in at night and I would wash, wax, clean the floors for them. And then in the daytimes, I would go deliver beer on a delivery truck.
Mm-hmm.
And then I happened to the guy that was working there knew the owner, and so he was like, "Well, you're supposed to be 18, but I understand you need a job, so just do the work. Don't brag about your age, uh, and get the work done." Uh, and then after that, I moved on and I went to work at Michelin, and I've worked at a foundry. And then at all those times, what had happened was I would work there. I do my very best to do the best I could, and then it meant nothing to the people I was working for. I was just another person, same as everybody. You go to
Mm.
work, you're only an employee. Doesn't matter how hard you try. Doesn't matter nothing. So after I left the foundry, I decided I'm going to work for myself. And then if I'm going to go out and work hard and bust my tail, it's going to be for me. So
Right.
that's when I started doing lawn care. Uh, I learned on my own, without parents around, without my dad or anybody. We learned ourselves. My grandma taught us how to build. She taught us how to work on stuff. Everything in life, she taught us what to do. So I knew how to do all this stuff. So I said, I'm just going to work on lawnmowers, and then I mowed lawns, and then from there on, I did whatever it took to make it.
Hmm.
It didn't matter what it was. If somebody needed a job done, I went and I done it. I've done electrical work, plumbing work. I've built. I've done lawn care, maintenance. On lawnmowers. Just anything that has needed done, I've just done it because that's what I had to do. I really didn't have a
Right.
choice.
Exactly. And Josh, do you mind me asking? I know women don't really like to be asked this question, but do you mind me asking how old you are?
34.
34. So wow, you're still very young. And and you've done so much. You've worked so much, but it is such. I think people that have no other choice, like you said, have no choice but to. Well, there are people though that, and I don't want to bash anybody or anything, but there are people that are put in that situation that choose not to work or whatnot. But you having the driving force behind you, that, and also having the man saying, "We're not laying on the couch. You need to get a job." That is encouraging for to see where you are now. You have your own family. You and your wife have children, and you are still working and then farming. And I think it really brings a little bit of, or it can spark some motivation in people that are thinking, I've got nothing, and I don't know how to do anything, or I don't know what to do. And there are opportunities, there are things that people can do, even if that means working multiple jobs. I've done that before as a single parent as well. I know what it means to work 3 jobs and barely sleep, and barely eat, but it is what we have to do to get by. Would rather do that than the alternative. I mean, which
Right.
is nothing. And when you have children that rely on you for everything, doing nothing to me is not an option.
Right.
So you met your wife. Now you have siblings. Tell me how many siblings that you have.
I've got. I had 7 siblings total, and then my little brother passed away. He died in a car wreck. Uh, but like right now, I got 4. I'm sorry, 3 older siblings, and now I've got 2 younger siblings.
Okay. And so had you and your wife met before your younger brother passed?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
guys had already met. How did you and your wife meet before we move into your chatting about
Uh,
your brother?
it's kind of a funny story how we met. So, uh, my like I was telling you before, is my family didn't come around. I didn't hear from them. None of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then one, I don't know, just one day, my sister comes to me and needs a place to live. And so I'm like, okay, well, I got an extra room so you can stay here.
Mm-hmm.
So then a month or so goes by, her living with me. She's like, hey, we're planning a party, having a get together at her house. And she said, do you mind if I invite your brothers? A couple of my brothers, and then 1 or 2 of my sisters. And I said, I said no. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have the headache. It's no big deal.
All
Then a day
right.
or 2 went by, and she's like, come on. She said, it'll be all right. They agreed. They're not going to start nothing. It's going to be a good, smooth, it's going to be all right.
All
And
right.
I thought about it, and I said, well, I said, I suppose so. So then when my brother come over, he had a couple friends with him, and one of them was my wife. And so,
Okay.
so that's how we met. Uh, so that's how we ended up. We've been together ever since then. I don't know the
Oh, that's so
exact.
awesome.
Yeah, I don't know the exact age, but it was ever since then.
Okay, gotcha. So you guys met, and then you built your family, or you have your family, you have your home, and then you lose your. Now, was it your one of your younger brothers that was killed in the
Yeah,
automobile car accident?
right. So when this happened, we just had my daughter. Is we didn't just have her, but that was all that I had. I didn't have my
Mhm.
sons yet, and so uh, after the story with my brothers is how what the how close we was he was deaf. He could slightly hear and he could read lips really well. So after he turned 18, I realized he got a check in the mail, but he didn't want just a check. He wanted to work. He wanted to earn his money.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized he would go get these jobs, and then because nobody could communicate with him, they would fire him. So he couldn't work with for anybody, and then he was just sitting at home and wasn't in a good mood. So when I was out here working for myself, I said, "Well, I need help, so you come and we'll work together." So from that time, uh, from the time that he was 18, we were together nearly every single day. Most times it was on Sundays we weren't together, but more than not we were together. And I would get up, go pick him up. We'd go out, do work, come back. We were always there. We did everything together, just me and him. And so that was all the way. And then I remember at his, it was a little before his birthday. He had just turned 25, but he kept on hanging out with these group of kids. And I kept on telling him, even though he was of age, he was still a little lower, on his mindset
Sure.
from
Mm-hmm.
being deaf. And I kept on telling him, I said, stop going. He would travel to the next state down, go over to Texas, down to this club and just to hang out with his friends. And I
Mm-hmm.
kept on telling him, I said, stop going down there. I said, quit. Do not go with him. And then one day he got so mad at me and fed up. And he said, why don't you want me to go with him? Do you not like him? I said, he's an okay guy. I don't mind him. He's all right. I said, just something tells me don't go down there. And he said, well, everything's fine. I've been down there 20 times. And I said, look, I said, you might go down there 99 times. I said, and on no number 100, something's going to happen. I said, I don't know. I said, just stop. And I would tell my whole family, do not let him go.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, he's over 18. He can do what he wants.
Right.
So when I went home, when I would drop him off at his house, my parents, he lived with my parents. So they would let him go and just not say nothing to me. They'd
Mm-hmm.
keep it a secret.
Mm-hmm.
And then one night he went with him. It was like I said, shortly after his 25th birthday. And I'm on his birthday, he was like, we were together, of course. And he was like, man, I can't believe it. I'm 25 years old. And I said, yeah, man, you're getting old just like me now. And so I got a call one day. Uh, it was the 13th of February. It was in the, it was on the 13th that morning that he'd
Mm-hmm.
been in a car wreck. And so,
It's okay. Take your time.
so that morning I was getting dressed. It was probably, I don't know, maybe it was a little after 4 in the morning is when I got the phone call from my dad. And they said he's probably going to go in for surgery. And so you need to come down here. I said, okay. I said, is it bad? He goes, well, maybe not bad. He got internal bleeding or something. So they're going to have to go in there and check it out.
Mm-hmm.
I said, all right. So I started getting dressed. Me and my wife was getting ready and we had went and, uh, we had gotten dressed at that time. Well, right as I was fixing to leave out the door, I got this most horrific feeling I've ever had in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It just was something come over, like a panic. Something was wrong, and it happened, and I looked right over at my alarm clock, and it was 4:44 in the morning. And so I was like, "Oh gosh, I gotta hurry up." And then I told myself, I said, "No," I said, "Everything's okay. I don't. There's nothing that's wrong." I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, I'm panicking."
Right.
So we wrapped it up. We got the door. Not 5 minutes later, like we were walking out into the car, and my wife got a phone call, and it was snowing. It was ice on the roads, and that was why he'd had a wreck. That the driver had a wreck,
I see.
So she got a phone call, and then it was my dad, and they were on the phone for maybe 2 minutes. And she was like, "Yeah, we're getting in the car." Okay, yeah, all right, bye. That was it. So we got in
Mhm.
the car, went and dropped my daughter off. We drove to Ardmore, and as soon as I pulled up to the hospital, I knew something ain't right. They're outside. I could just, I knew something was wrong, and so I went inside, and then they told me that he had passed away already.
Mhm.
And then so I was like, well, did he just win? And they're like, before you left your house. He said that was my dad had called my wife to see if we'd already left to tell us that he had already passed away. But they kept it a secret because they knew I wouldn't have drove right, out of blue
Absolutely.
moon state. And so uh, I don't know. I've never seen the death report,
Mhm.
but I would guarantee I would be willing to bet that he passed away right at 4:44.
Mm.
And it was so close to that time, but
Josh, first of all, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry for your loss, your family's loss. I have to tell you that there's something about, and I say this because of two experiences. One was my own, and the other was my sister-in-law in terms of loss. And one was when I got the phone call that my mom was not going to make it through the night, and when I looked at the phone, or when I looked at the clock, it was 2:13. It was 2:13 a.m. And so they told us, told my brother and I that we needed to go ahead and head to the hospital. But our mom didn't pass at 2:13. It's just I wake up every single night. My mom's been gone since 2003, but it has been every night since 2003 that I wake up at 2:13. I can look at the clock, and it's just I believe that sometimes that trauma can surface in so many different ways. And my mom and I were best friends, and so it is just the weirdest thing. I've not slept through the night in years and years, and so I'm either waking up at 2:13 every night for years, or I'll wake up at 3, or but it's always right around that time. Now for my sister-in-law, whose son was killed in a motorcycle accident about 5 weeks after Ben was killed in his motorcycle accident. She, on one of my podcasts, she shares that when she got the phone call, no, she had received a phone call from her son who had been struggling with addiction. And he had asked her if he could have some money because he was hungry. Well, she had been like really adamant and decided to not be an enabler, but something told her, she says the Lord told her to go and give him some money because she felt like that it might be the last time that she sees him for whatever reason. And so she goes home. She had given him some money. They said they loved each other and all that. She woke up at, I can't remember the exact time, but it was a certain time, 1:44 in the morning, 2:44. Anyway, in the morning with a sharp pain in her back. And she said that she took a deep breath in, like, and then she let it out. And then she said that she felt this peace, just this peace about her. She didn't know what it was all about. Well, the next day, the police came to her place of employment, and she found out that Justin was killed in a motorcycle accident. And the report was that at the same time she woke up and took that deep breath in and released it because she had a sharp pain in her back, was the same time that he had taken his last breath. And so I feel like, that there's some, especially with you feeling like something just wasn't right, that I believe that is God's ways of, even though you can't be prepared at all, there's no way to be prepared. But I think that sometimes those subtle ways can be maybe some type of awareness or preparation, or maybe a gift in some way that you knew, when he maybe took his last breath. How do you feel? How do you see that? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
For a long time, I felt uh, I was unsure why I had got it. Uh, for the longest time, whenever I would look at the clock and see that number, because a lot of times I would look down, I'd see it 4:44.
Yes.
Everywhere, I'd go around, I'd see it different places, different times, different things. And every time I'd see it, I just got like sick to my stomach. Just,
Mm.
like, oh, I don't want to see it, just look away. I didn't see it. And for the longest time, uh, I couldn't even talk about it. Like, it hurt to talk about it. I couldn't even imagine, I, it was hard to tell somebody that he had even passed away, because we had been so close and done everything together. So my whole life had to change.
Mm-hmm.
Just I was empty. But probably, uh, I don't know how long ago exactly, but a few years ago, maybe 4 years, maybe five, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was talking about it, and I said, you know what? Let me look this up. So I looked it up. I said, what is the meaning? Because somebody had said that when you see three consecutive numbers, it's angels are watching over you, or there's different people have different reasonings. So I said, well, let me look this up. What's the meaning of 444? And I don't know exactly. I won't say exact, but it was close, something on the lines of when it's someone connecting with you, or giving you a sign of relief, something like that. I don't know exactly what it
Wow.
means. And then when I read that, I said, everything changed. So it was like that was not misery at 444. That was more like, uh it was more like he was coming and saying, hey, it's gonna be all
Mm.
right, no big deal. Because we would have together, everything went wrong, like not major, but just we'd always run into problems. Things just here and there always happened. And for the longest time, small things would still happen when I saw 444. And so
Mm.
when I read that, I said, everything changed. And I said, this is not something I need to be. I don't need to hate seeing those three numbers.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So it's more like a comfort. And so everything changed since then. Uh, and since then, because somebody told me, a lady, a famous, very famous lady, said. So I was talking to her one time about it. We talked all the time, and so she said, we don't grieve for them. We grieve because we're selfish.
Right.
They're not hurting. And so hearing that, knowing that, and then seeing, what the meaning, of what 444 means to some people. So it was like that's comfort of knowing, hey, that's like saying, hey, I'm right here. Take it easy, be all right. It's a sign. So
Yes. Yes. Wow. I am. Gosh, there are no words really. I think that the signs are, like you said. For me personally, when I would wake up at 2:13, I too would just, hey, I'd be bawling. I'd be bawling. I just the pain of seeing that 2:13 in the morning, and I'm just like, would wake up from nightmares, or wake up bawling, or look at the clock and just be crying and asking why. And then as time went on, I too started communicating with people and just kind of sharing uh, my feeling of grief, and the same words were shared with me that, in not in hateful ways, but in sort of counseling type ways that my mom is, healthy. She's whole. She's happy. There's no stress, no fear, no worry, no hate, no anger, no nothing. It is all good, and that my grief was normal, and I would be moving through the phases of sadness and then anger and then regret. I lived with feelings of regret that I didn't say things more, or I didn't ask more questions, or I didn't do certain things. And then I moved past that to peace, knowing that she's not holding any grudges, that she wouldn't want me to hold any type of feelings of regret or grief or selfishness or anything like that. So in the first few years, it was difficult to remember the good times, because a lot of times people will say, and I don't know if you feel this way, but for me, a lot of times people will say, just think about the good times and don't think about her death or her illness. But for me, when I think about the good times, I would be bawling even more because I wanted more good times. Like I missed her so much because it was hard for me to think about the good times, I guess. And so, but the peace and comfort did come from moving through what they call the phases of losing someone. And I went through those phases, and now I'm at peace knowing that she wouldn't want me to be living like this for sure. Sad, angry, regret, and that knowing that she's healthy and she's well and she's with my dad, and so they're happy and healthy together. But so as you continue to move through, and thank you so much for sharing that. I know that was difficult. I could see, and it is always hard. There's a quote from there's a quote from Winnie the Pooh, actually, that is it's and I don't know the exact quote, but I'm just sort of paraphrasing that. How lucky are we to have loved someone so much that we hurt so much. And it's not the exact quote, but it's something similar to that. And boy, do I feel lucky thinking about having such a great relationship with my mother and my father. We had some issues, but and you, and being so close to your brother, how lucky are you and I and anyone else that has a family member or family members that you get to love someone so much and miss them so much, but knowing that they're in peace. I appreciate you sharing that story with all of us. And I'm going to go through some of the comments, Josh, because I saw a couple of things here for you that I want to make sure that I share and get through. Let me see here. I'm going to move on up. Let's see, Piggy's Piddles is here. Let's see here. Pooch says it's tough, but when you have no choice. Oh, he's talking about you working so much. It's tough, but when you have no choice, you have to get after it. Nobody is going to do it for you.
That's right.
Let's see. Oh, LaDonna says, same thing when you get old. Everyone forgets you exist. I would hope, LaDonna, that, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I hope that you don't feel that way, because you, LaDonna, in terms of our family here, our YouTube family, my goodness, I know that Pooch so loves receiving your comments and your phone calls and your texts. And we look at the amazing gifts that you have blessed us with, the Bible, with the pictures of our family on it, and believe it when I say that you are not forgotten. And so I hope and pray that you don't feel that way. But I understand that, we all are allowed to feel the way that we feel. But I want you to know that Pooch and I think of you often. We see all the things that you have blessed us with, and we are so appreciative. Kevin with Hiking with Jack and Boy, he said that guy who guided you definitely helped you make it. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of people are saying, Heather says, nice you had someone to guide you. Who else? Justin with Backroad Freedom says that he's still trying to get his first house. Okay, Jailbait. Gary with Jailbait and Tackle Outdoors says, I respect Josh 100% because he keeps trying to move forward. I am loving this story. Pooch says Josh is a man's man. So Josh, is the man that you called your stepfather, is he the one that was so influential to you? Is he still living, or do you see him?
Yeah, he's still living, and I don't see him as often because I live so far away. Not far, but like 45 minutes away from him. But every day, first thing in the morning, he's texting me. And
Wow.
and this is constant. It's all throughout the day. It, all day, every day, he's in contact with me. He's just like a dad. Uh,
Mm,
he cares. He looks after me, and still to this day, even though I'm on my own and I can make it, he's still guiding me. And
wow.
sometimes I get kind of frustrated with him. He's trying to tell me how to live. If he thinks I'm not doing correct or should do something differently, but I don't get angry with him. I just know he's trying to help me out. He's trying to guide me. Uh,
Right. Right.
and so his eyes are bad. So it's like it's text to talk. It's not even a text to talk. It's just words. He records his voice and it sends it to me. But every morning, he's telling me, "Good morning, coffee time. Get out of bed, go get some work done." It's just constantly. So yeah, we still talk a lot.
That's amazing. Do you care to share his first name?
His name is Kurt.
Kurt.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kurt.
Wow. What a blessing. What a blessing Kurt has been. And there, I don't know, even like I think about LaDonna, Kickapoo Crappy Cat. I mean, how amazing is it that you have someone that texts you every single morning to say, hey, it's coffee time, and how there are so many people that are just wanting something like that, and that actually helps me, and it encourages me to do the same maybe for others. A lot
Right.
of people, Josh, here are saying that they are very sorry for your loss. And LaDonna says, for Kickapoo Crappy Cat, she says, you had to grow up fast, young man. I'm proud to see a young person who really wants and knows how to work. So let's see here. Lindsay is here into the mist. I'm sorry. Lindsay is here. I think I saw Drew's lens in as well. So Josh, you are learning to live with the loss of your brother. I dare not say, and I say that because of Mike's loss, but we're not over it, I don't think, but we have moved forward, and we are living because we know that we're moving forward, and we're living and trying and doing and working because we know that Ben would be upset with us if we didn't. And I'm sure that it sounds like your brother would hope for you the same, for you to continue on and to keep living and keep moving, and especially giving you that amazing sign that everything's going to be okay. Tell me a little bit about, you had mentioned when we had you on last Wednesday, you mentioned a little bit of some health issues that you have been struggling with, that your heart. What is going on with that?
So before my brother got killed, everything was fine. And then it must have been it was in April. I know it was probably April 15th. It's about this time right now because today's the 17th. But it was a few months, however many months that was after he had passed away. Uh, I had a small stroke. It was a lot of stress. I mean, I had a lot. It was hard, and I didn't think. I was like, okay, I'm not like, oh, I got so much stress, but it was just a lot built up, and I had a small stroke, And at that time, I didn't realize what it was. I just thought, man, my heart's beating like a, beating out of my chest, turning
Mhm.
red. I can't breathe. It's hot. And then maybe 2 months later, I was losing my memory and I started forgetting things. And so I
Mhm.
said, that's exactly what some people told me that it might have been a stroke. And I said, no, I said, I'm not going to have a stroke. I said, I'm too young. And
Mhm.
then when I started losing my memory, I said, because I couldn't remember things. And I said, wow. I said, so I guess I did. So then I went on. I got, I kind of, blew it off. I didn't do nothing about it. And then probably, I think it was about a year ago. It was last, it, I can't remember the exact times, but it was within the last year, 2 years. So after my brother died, I lost my grandma, my grandpa. I lost a lot of people. There was a lot all within a few months of each other. It kept on passing away for health issues. And
Mhm.
so it kept on building up, and I would let it go. And just about 2 years ago, my chest started acting up again, and I had little small problems, and then I let it go. I was just like, well, it's hard to breathe. It's all right. And then in February, or not February, what November of last year, uh, I had it'd probably been 2 or 3 days that I had went on, and my chest just hurt so bad. Kind of a little bit hard to breathe, not too bad, just some pain. And
Mhm.
then I woke up one morning and I was making my coffee, and my chest started hurting so bad. And I said, "Man, I gotta calm down. Something's wrong." And so I took in a deep breath, and I almost fell on the floor.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
said, "Man, something's not going on here." And I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't take a deep breath and breathe. And I said, "My chest is hurting and it's pounding like crazy." And then I'm a little dizzy. I can't think. And I said, I'm fixing to die. And so I went. I got some paper, and I was like, I got to start writing my passwords down, my bank. I gotta get all this wrote down, and I don't have much time to do it. And at the same time, I said I got to get my daughter up for school. My son wasn't going to school at that time, and I said I got to get my daughter up for school. And I said if this doesn't change really soon, I said I'm gonna have to go straight to the emergency room. And then so I tried to calm down a little bit, and I just went on. I dealt with it, and as the day went on, I got her dropped off, and I headed to work, and I was trying to be calm, and the pain started to lighten up a little bit,
Mhm.
and so I said, okay, it's gonna be all right. I don't go to the doctor. I don't do nothing unless if I say I go to the doctor, I'm gonna die. I mean, I feel horrible. Uh,
Mhm.
and for instance, probably it was about 3 years ago. I was I had to go to the emergency room, and when I was in the emergency room, I was having a lot of pain in my stomach, and I dealt with that for probably 2 or 3 days.
Mhm.
Uh, when I got in there, they did MRIs and scans and stuff, and the lady came in and she said, I'm waiting on some other results to come in. She said, but it looks like you got bladder cancer.
Oh my gosh. What on earth?
And I said, well, that's not what I need. And she said, you need to go take this antibiotic and take it for 7 days to get rid of the pain, and then come back and do more testing. Well, at this time, between the times that I was supposed to go back taking this medicine, 7 or 10, whatever days it was, the bill had came in for the scans. And I said, there's no way I can pay this bill. I
Mhm.
said, I can't go back. So I said, I got to do what I got to do. So ever since that day, I started drinking aloe juice and cranberry juice.
Mhm.
And it's cranberry elderberry. But every night for the last 3 years, I drink one glass when I go to bed. And it's so far, I've had no problems. Two times, I thought, well, maybe they're wrong. I said, and I used to drink a lot of energy drinks, a lot of Red Bulls,
Mhm.
like around 12 to 24 cans a day.
Oh.
Uh, and then I would drink a 12 pack of Dr. Peppers a day.
Mhm.
I drink a lot. That's all I drank. And then, so I cut that off. I quit. And then I said, well, you know what? I'm feeling good. I think they might be wrong with something else. So I drank a half a can of Dr. Pepper. I said, I'll just drink a little bit. And then
Mhm.
2 days later, the pain was right back. It was the exact same. And so I said, something ain't right here. And so I've never went
Did I
back.
lose
I
you,
quit.
Josh?
What is it?
No, I hear you. I lost you for a second, but
Okay.
so, but let me ask you this, Josh. Have you not been to the doctor about your heart? Have you not had your heart checked out? Because I remember, I'm a mom. I remember you saying last Wednesday that you had some sort of little episode. I'm not sure. We didn't go into it, but you said, "I
Right.
hope my wife's not listening because she
Right.
doesn't know about this." So, was it another episode about your heart, or have you seen a doctor about your heart?
So after the November part came along, I went uh I went on, I said I was gonna go to the doctor and I'd put it off, I put it off. And then in January I had another episode. Not anywhere near as bad, but I was at work, I'm dizzy, I can't see, I can't stand up, I'm dropping my tools. So I said, I gotta do something. So I had went to urgent care and I had told them what was going on and they said, well, you got to get right to the emergency room right away. And I said, well, I don't have time because it's going to take me 2 hours or 3 hours to sit in a waiting room. I said, so I'll just be all right. So I went back to work. Well, then it wouldn't go away. And so I told my wife about it and we made a appointment at the heart doctor. And I went in and they ran some tests and they said it wasn't nothing major popped up, but things wasn't right. So they scheduled me a bunch of testings, whatever. Then when they came back, they said they can't find anything. And so they're like, just come back in 6 months, 3 months, whatever it was. And I haven't went back since. I said, if you didn't find something the first time, why keep going back? Uh, and so I haven't been
Yeah.
back since. But
Well, how are you feeling today? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling? Is there something that triggers maybe that you've noticed that maybe triggers your um, lightheadedness or needing to take a deep breath or stop for a second? I mean, do you think it could be anxiety or, I mean, panic attacks, or
well, it's not
do you think it's
really.
because of your stroke that you had prior to maybe?
I don't know 100%. I really wouldn't because I thought, because like you said, I mean, maybe it's anxiety or maybe whatever, but it doesn't choose, it's not necessarily, I can wake up and be having the greatest day, no big problems, no nothing going on, and then bam, I got some problems. And it's like it hurts. My chest hurts. And it'll start out for a couple of days, just a slight pain, and then it'll get worse and worse. And then when it gets really bad is when it really starts to breathe, is when my breathing is bad. And then after
Mhm.
that starts, then like you said, it's dizziness. It's like I can't. I'm under a car, working. I'll stand up and I forget what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm at. I'm
Mm,
dizzy. I got to catch myself. Uh, but it's at random times, random. I mean, it's nothing
gotcha.
100% what happens.
Mm. Um, so let me ask you this, and you have a lot of people here that are saying that they're praying for you, and Ladonna with Kickapoo Crappy Cup, she said she was wondering about anxiety. Camping Cage Free came in. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate you. Kickapoo also says, "Oh my, those energy drinks are so bad for you." Um, I'm wondering because, and I again, I appreciate you so much for being here and sharing, but your attitude, and everyone that knows you here, at least from our family, our YouTube family that we know together, your attitude is so positive. You are so uplifting and encouraging to others. Where does that come from? What can you share with others that maybe have been through, maybe not everything similar, but through loss or through, not that you were homeless, but uh, pretty darn close to homelessness, and you're so, where does that come from? Where's your encouraging words and your support and positivity? Where does that come from?
So most of it, like it's just I'm not the only one, and that's the biggest thing. Was I'm not the only person that's going through all this. And for a while, I thought, man, why does I did think I was just the only one, and I thought to myself, why does this keep happening to me? Why is this going on? Why do I always have this bad luck? And then I would be around other people, and they're like, man, it's happened again, And then I'm like, I'm listening and thinking it's happening to them else also.
Mm.
Uh, so I said, I'm not the only one. This just happens. And every once in a while, uh, I'll get signs, and I'm saying this from God. I could be wrong. I highly doubt it, but I get signs that things is going to be all right. Uh, and that's where all my positivity comes from. And a really good example of the signs that I get. I joke around that I'm psychic to people, and sometimes they're like, "How did you know that? You cheated? What's?" They're like, they think you really did know that, and I don't know. I have a gift, and I can't
Uh-huh.
even explain what it is. And I know I have this gift, but me and my buddy went down to Florida a couple years back to pick up some skid steers and bring them back. Well, on our way back, I had my trailer. I've never had no flats, no nothing. Great tires, good shape. On the way back, we had a blowout, and I don't know what town or whatever it was, but we had a blowout. We pull over, like, man, what's the problem? Why is I've never had no trouble with this. So it's almost nighttime. We can't get nobody out there to help us. So we're scanning on the radio, and it a weather. We were driving, just talking. We don't know where we're at. We don't have a radio station. We're just chit chatting. But because we were sitting there doing nothing, we decided to find a good station. We went. We after we This was 5 minutes after we pulled over. We turned the radio on, and they said a tornado had just went 15 miles ahead of us, went right across the highway that we were on, and flipped cars. Was tore a bunch of stuff up.
Wow.
And we said, we right away, both of us, thank you, Jesus. We would have been right through it, driving through it. Not, it was bad weather, but it's no big deal. We just kept on going through it. And so that prevented us, I feel, from being right in the dead center of that storm.
Hmm.
So to carry on the whole time, we had 5 flats that same trip on the way home. And my trailer only has 4 tires on it. We kept on having blowouts, and the whole time we said, man, we're like, we don't know what the problem is, but thank you, Jesus. We're
Yeah.
on the side of the road again, but thank you. You helped us with something. And on the 5th tire, we're an hour and a half away from home, and it blows out again. And then we pull over, and I'm thinking, both of us at the same time, we said, where I turned to my buddy and I said, you know what? I said, I don't know what the problem is. I said, I don't know if this has been Jesus helping us the whole time or not. And I said, Jesus, I said, if you've been helping us, I said, please show us a sign because this is horrible. Something's going on here. And we let it go. We got out. 30 minutes later, somebody pulls up, takes my buddy down to the tire shop. And we're like, if they have a spare, we need to get it on. But if it's not, we can't do nothing about it because we're broke at this time. We've
Hmm.
spent all our money.
Yeah.
And he gets my buddy there, and the guy says, I don't have any used tires. All I got's a brand new one, 200 and something bucks. And my buddy said, thanks, but you know, we I'll do what we can do. Maybe we can get one later. And the guy
Right.
and the guy turns around and says, hey, go get that tire out of the back of my truck and let's get it on the rim. My buddy said, no, you don't understand. We don't have money in the truck. We don't have money here. We cannot. And he said, go get that tire and put it on that rim. And he paid the guy the tire. And my buddy said, well, give me your address. He said, I'm gonna give it to you because you asked me for it. He said, but for the rest of my life, I will never go to my mailbox and look for any money for you to send me in the mailbox. And so I said, and we made a home that time. So I
Oh my
said,
gosh.
so that told me, I had said, God, you please show us a sign because we're not believing no more. Something, why does it keep happening? And then he
Yes.
sent this guy and gave us a brand new tire to make it on home. And so ever since then, I look for these signs. And I see them all the time, and that's what gives me my hope. And I try to be there for other people because you never know. There's a lot going on in our lives. We don't have a
Yes.
perfect life. Nobody does.
Right.
Things go on that nobody even knows about. But you never know. I believe sincerely I could pass somebody or sit beside somebody at lunch and they could be eating their last meal and go home and want to kill themselves. Their life might be miserable. So my every day of my life, if I even I get feelings from people. If I
Mhm.
get feelings from God, like reach out to this person. And ever since all this has happened, if I get a feeling like that, I reach out. Even if it's sitting having a conversation, say, hey man, have a great day, man. I'm glad I seen you in here today. Whatever it is, I reach out because you never know what that person's going through, and they might be at the end of their line where they have no more
Mhm.
hope. And so,
Absolutely. And what a gift that gift is, um, for you to have. I think, God selected, it chooses, and just like I told Doris and Corey last Monday, that God chooses his soldiers and he uses us all for his purpose. And I think in you, Josh, that he chose the what a great soldier he chose is what I'm trying to say, to bless you with that gift and for you to act upon it. I think everyone has gifts, and it's just for some of us trying to find out what they are, and then when we find out what they are, to make sure that we use them. And your gift is very encouraging, and it's very inspiring, and it's actually encouraging even for me to think, that's so true. You never know. You never know. It could be, our last day. It could be my last day, and it could be someone else's last day. And what a waste it would be if we didn't take the opportunity that God has given us to say a kind word, to do something kind for somebody, to check on somebody, to just say hello, how are you, and not wait for and not expect the answer fine, because I think a lot of people just assume that someone's going to say fine, but to give somebody the opportunity to really sit and talk. And I think that I'm grateful for your gift. I'm grateful that you came on and you shared. It is very encouraging, and I think that the title of this show, A Message of Hope, it hit the nail on the head, because you certainly, I'm going to call you my friend, my new friend, really have shared such an amazing message of hope. And there's so many comments in here that are saying they cannot wait until the meetup. And actually, Kickapoo, she said that she really needs to talk to you at the meetup, Josh. And you have just been so encouraging. I'm going to ask you the one last question that I ask everybody at the end of my podcast. And my question for you is, who is Josh Sherman today?
well, that's a hard one because I I don't look at myself of how good I am or how bad I am. I don't I don't judge myself. I if I had to say something to who am I today, I think I have to say I'm here for somebody that they need to reach out
Mm,
because my goal, uh, and my daughter, my family know I do everything for everybody when they're in need. If I can do it, I do it because I want to be there for other people.
mhm.
Uh, so I I don't really have a. I mean, I'm me.
No, I would
I don't
say
really have an
that.
answer to that.
I would say that that is a great. response because it shows in your character and it shows in the support that you give everybody else. And I mean that genuinely when I say that you are just one supportive, encouraging young man. And I would never have known, knowing you, and it speaks so much for your character and who you are as a human being, that I would never have known that you had gone through all that you have gone through because of how positive and encouraging and supportive you are. And so you are using your gift, and it is so amazing and beautiful to see. And I know that I speak for everyone in the chat that we are so appreciative for you and your caring soul and your caring spirit, and so appreciative that you shared and that you have chosen to continue on and to continue to move forward even after, gosh, the hardships and the loss that you've had. So I thank you so much for coming on, Josh, and what a blessing you are to your family, your beautiful family. And again, I see that Backroad Freedom, thank you so much. You've shared a couple of times or multiple times Josh's YouTube link. And so I think I know everybody in here, but for anybody that watches this broadcast later, I would encourage you to go and click on Josh's link and check out his YouTube channel. It's full of all amazing kind of things. His family's there. You get to see his family and all the fun stuff that he does on his channel. So go and hit and like and subscribe. And you've got so many comments of what a supportive, true, kind man that you are, Josh. And I appreciate you coming on and joining us tonight. So thank you for coming on. Do you have any last words?
I don't think. I appreciate you letting me come on. It's an honor. You guys, everybody here, like I've not told anybody this much stuff about my life, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would say my wife probably doesn't even know every detail, because I just try to keep it. My goal is to try to keep somebody else from going through the pain and having the same thoughts I had. And so I don't tell nobody. So you guys y'all heard it first. Like,
Wow, I'm honored. I am so honored. I want to. I'm not going to cry, but I am so honored that you said yes to coming on. That you did share with us, and that you shared with not just me but everybody in the chat. And there, even LaDonna says that she needs to rewatch it a time or two. I'm so appreciative. I hope that you know, Josh, that I'm really grateful that you came on and shared with us. So I thank you. I have a safe drive home. It looks like that you might be in your vehicle, but
yeah,
be safe. Say hello to you. Thank you. Say hello to your beautiful family, and thank you. Thank them for letting me steal you for a little bit.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being on, and thank everybody for being here and supporting us. I greatly appreciate it.
Of course. You have a really great night, Josh, and we'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.